been in the opposite of a creative rut recently. I've got so many ideas, I just don't know what to do with them. And then I end up being in this rut of not being able to do anything. So today I thought, let's just pick one of my ideas, get out there and do it. This is an infrared filter, which can go on any camera. And if your camera doesn't have an infrared blocker, you can get some fantastic infrared pictures. But it's not just infrared photography that I'm interested in. I tried a little while ago this amazing technique which blended the infrared photo with a regular photo. And it just created this incredible looking scene. I'll just put up a picture of what I did a few months ago to give you an idea of what I'm after. And then I'm going to take you through the process of what I do to achieve this look. I've got my basic composition set up. I really like the way this plays out. I've got this boat in the foreground, and then I've got just enough gap to keep it interesting before we hit the boats in the background. The trick here is to get everything in focus without having to focus stack, because there's enough going on as it is. So my focus point will be as far back on this foreground boat as I can get it. You can see there's a runnel at the back. If I focus on there, the hyperfocal distance might be enough to get everything in as good a focus as I can get. Anything that's slightly out of focus, I can fix in post. Because the ground's wet, I need a nice little mat to stop my leg getting soaked. There we go. Now everything actually looks really good. I thought I might need a polarizer, but this reflection is spot on. If anything, polarizer might reduce the amount of light bouncing off this front panel. So I've got my Nissi, part of my V6 square filter. The major problem with trying to reduce the glare off this front is that it also reduces the reflections out on the water, and I don't want to do that. But having a polarizer on is always a good idea anyway, especially in these kind of conditions. So I've got my shot. Now it's just a matter of taking it. So the next step is getting this filter on. So it gives that a nice wipe. And we'll swap out this one. The first thing you'll notice is everything's gone black because the infrared filter is cutting out most of the light and only letting in those longer wavelengths. So to let more light in, the best option is just to extend that shutter speed. And we'll do that by going down to, well, in this case, 25 seconds. Now, you'll still notice it's quite dark. It's also very red. And what I do to make things easier in post and make things easier for me now is to change the white balance to combat most of that. And I've got a pre-setting which gives me a Kelvin value of 2500. And that makes it a little bit clearer, but from there it's still too dark to do anything visually. So just increase the ISO just for the purposes of getting in the focus. We can reduce that ISO back down a bit again. Not all the way to 100, but enough to combat this light on this panel here. So that'll be 320. And from there, everything else is the same. The composition is the same. The amount of light is about the same once you do that 25 seconds. So let's do that now. Now, of course, a longer shutter speed means we pick up all the movement of the boats, which we don't really see with the eye because it's such a slow movement. But 25 seconds is a long time. And you'll see, when I get this up on the screen for you, you'll see there's quite a bit of movement. But I think that can really work well with what we're trying to achieve today. I'm going to find a few more compositions and do similar treatments, and then I'll see you back in the studio to show you what it is that I do to achieve that look that I showed you at the beginning of the video. All right, we're in the studio. I've got my 2 images up. I've made all the adjustments that I want to before we start the process. And it's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to bore you with all of the details, but once you've made all the adjustments, you go through, you export at the highest resolution possible. That's just me. I like to have as much information in there as I can get in case I need to make any minute changes. Now that they've been exported, open up Affinity Photo. Now, Affinity Photo is my choice. You can do this in pretty much any program that's out there that allows you to stack images. So I just go File, New Stack, add the images in. Open them up. I choose to do by scale, rotate and translate, just because there might be some minute aberrations in the way the images were taken. You'll see on the right hand side we've got a live stack. What I like to do is just pull those out because I only really use it for the process of stacking them together so they're all aligned properly. From here I swap these images over so the infrared is underneath, and all I do here is change the opacity of the colour so that I can line these up correctly. You'll see there's some, even after the stacking, there's just some really slight differences in where they're sitting, and some of those are due to movement. A lot of it is simply due to the way the infrared wavelengths act differently to the visible light wavelengths. And you'll see just up along the edge here, there's a difference. So all we do is we grab that handle there and move that so that the edges line up. Now it's not going to be perfect to start with because we've got to make these adjustments on all four sides. If I go to the top of the image and do the same thing, and now you can see where there's a difference in the horizontal. It's never going to be perfect, but it also doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be as close as we can manage. I push that back up to 100%, and this is where my magic comes in. Well, I call it magic. It's just a simple blend, but I find that this particular blend works best for me. In Affinity Photo 2, at the top of the layers, you've got the opacity, but you've also got the blend drop-down menu. I just go down to color, and there it is. So you can see now those brighter areas of color are coming through, and it gives a kind of a surreal look based in reality. With infrared photos, you do get that really hyper surreal look if you're keeping the color in. But in this instance, you've got some of that color coming through, so it does give that basis in reality as well. We're not done because there are a couple of things that you'll see are kind of out of the norm here. This is one of the main ones where you've got this buoy over this side and you've got the shadow of the buoy where it's moved between the photos. If I disable the top layer, you'll see that this buoy is the one that we want, whereas the one that's on the color layer over here actually doesn't look very good at all. So what we're going to do is just clone that out. And this is where it seems a bit counterintuitive because you're cloning out the color, not the black and white. So just grab our cloning tool, and there, it's gone. Simple as that. And we can use that in other places as well. So you can see down here there's a line with this grass, and we just simply clone that out like so. And you'll see there are other areas where that happens as well. In the case of the mast with the boat, I mean, we could do it. I don't think it's that important, but you can still see everything else shines through just beautifully. And that just gives the image a little bit more cohesiveness. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. The last step is just to give it a small crop, just so we can hide those edges. Oh, and one last thing, you'll see down the bottom here, I managed to get my shadow in on the infrared. That was because the sun was moving around. But again, it's quite easy to clone that out. Because we're dealing with two layers, go onto the black and white. Simple as that. Done, and I'm happy. Now that's complete, I'll work on the other two, and here are the photos. Exploring these creative processes, and the more ideas that I have, the more I'd like to explore. And it's the same for you. If you've got some weird and wacky idea out there, don't block yourself straight away. Give it a go. You never know what the outcome might be, and you might just surprise yourself, even if there's just one tiny little technique in there that you've discovered. Then it's not a wasted opportunity. Just give it a go, really. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on another one soon.